Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vanguard Uplink Podcast. I am your host, CCP Gortz, and joining me, as he so often does,
haven't moved
from this spot, but we'll come to that. It's my good friend and your good friend, CCP Collins. Hello.
Hello.
It's been a while.
Before Christmas, right?
Before Christmas.
Well before Christmas, I think was the last one we did.
Yeah. Where you been?
Don't know. I now apologise. I don't keep track of the shirts and caps that I wear.
Right.
I may have been wearing the same outfit in the last video. I do have other outfits.
It's fine.
Yes.
That's fine. But the most important thing is you're back.
Yep. We back.
We back. Some would say we never left. We just weren't very public facing. So
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, but we're here to address that now. Because you left me here. You went off to Iceland.
Yep.
To film the director's letter.
I did. I wasn't even there for the director's letter. They just found me wandering the halls. No, I was specifically there for the director's letter.
You must have at least got on is there a portal that I don't know about in the London office?
Yeah. Actually, we've been it's all trickery. We are in Iceland right now.
It feels like it.
Yeah.
It feels like it. Anyway, in this director's letter, you, CCP Collins, it's very, very Newsnight, isn't it?
Yeah. All right, Paxman.
Yeah. Bit of a Kirsty Wark man myself. You talks about the road to Alpha. So catch us up. Tell us about the road to Alpha for EVE Vanguard.
Yeah. So we've been in pre-alpha now since 2023. When we first announced the game at FanFest all that time ago. And pre-alpha's been, it's been great for us. We've been able to experiment, add a lot of prototypes to the game, gathered a huge amount of feedback, do what a lot of games don't get to do, which is get all of that feedback, all of those playtests, all of the technical niggles kind of out the way before you reach into alpha. A lot of times you'll see games that are kind of at the end of alpha going into early access. You've seen the game for the last 2.5 years in pre-alpha. So what we want to do now, the next steps for us is to move into alpha. And what that normally is, it's kind of a much tighter, far more polished version of the game. So we're not going to have as many prototypes in it, not as many kind of placeholder or experimental features. We've kind of had that time to experiment. We've gathered a huge amount of feedback, and especially kind of culminating with Operation Nemesis at the end of last year, really understanding a lot more about what people like, what people don't like, and how we can shape that, and I should say, getting feedback from a lot of different angles. So people who are heavily invested in EVE, people who are, heavily invested in Dust, people who are new to Vanguard but exist in EVE, people are new to the universe altogether. We got a huge amount of feedback from all of those different cohorts of people, and it's allowed us to kind of go, right, what's right for the next steps. So what we're working on now, and we're back. We started working on this in the onset of January when we came back from the new year, is we're working towards delivering that first alpha, which is a tighter, more focused, but far more polished version of Vanguard. It's going to feel like a solid foundation that plays well and looks well. Well, yeah. Plays great and looks great, and is a much more tighter representation of what we want this game to play like. I think Operation Nemesis was a bit too open and a bit loose in places. There are lots of different experiments and ideas, some of which weren't really necessarily coming together. And there were some criticisms to some of the core parts of the game as well, the general mode in the Sandbox, as well as some of the gunplay and the enemy work. So that we've all taken into, we want to improve. We want to kind of put a version forwards for alpha that is it feels more finished, a more finished idea of what this game should be that we can then continue to build on. And I think I said in the director's letter, but I will repeat it here because it's great news. We'll announce the dates at FanFest this year, but we're aiming for an alpha playtest on Steam in the summer. Okay,
so we have had a lot of questions since the director's letter coming from our Discord community. I mean, a lot. Fans
good.
there are hungry for info. So I've got about 10 here, which we'll try and fire through as best we can. Apologies if I don't get to your question. We will try and catch anything we missed on Discord. That's how it goes. Right, Collins.
I'm ready.
He's ready.
I'm ready.
He's ready. Okay, what? Sorry. What is the current broad idea about the gameplay archetypes, like the type of Vanguard and designs going forward?
Yeah, so the broad idea is rooted in some... I'm not going to waffle too much about this because I go on this a lot. Rooted in the idea that's already in EVE Online, that people will play the game however they want to, whether you like it or not. People tend to go into these ideas. It's called something I really enjoy is called the Bartle taxonomy on player types. You can Google that if you want to, but it generally categorizes people into like killers, achievers, socializers, and explorers. And it's really actually almost too perfect that the full career program playstyles in EVE Online match into that. You've got soldiers of fortune, industrialists, enforcers, and explorers. And so we kind of want to adopt that kind of different play styles. Industry is a big part of the game. Killing people is a big part of the game. Socializing, we want to be a bigger part of the game. And exploration is something that we want to lean into as well. So there won't be hard play styles. It won't be like a class system. But the equipment that we make, the activities that we add to the world, and the objectives that you will be given will kind of be more tailored towards, helping you to specialize along these paths, or just be a jack of all trades if you want to. But if you want to lean into being better at killing people, or lean into being better at industrialization, the way that you kit yourself out and the objectives that you take on and the things that you're buying and manufacturing allow you to lean into those playstyles, and that's still something we feel quite strongly about and we want in the game. Right now, I think the game is a bit more tailored towards killing people and socializing with a little bit of industrialization and not much exploration, but we hope as we keep adding more content to the game, that'll start to even out over time.
Can you talk a bit more about the player suits? Or are we holding off on that one?
Yeah, well, it's still something we're working towards. We still need to nail the first one. We've tried and, I don't mind saying failed in a few places over the last kind of 18 months in trying to develop a suit worthy of the Vanguard war clone. So we're still working to that at the moment. Once we've nailed that first Vanguard suit, that's kind of when, the doors have been blown off at that point, and we can then start making more suits, because we do want, we don't want all of the players just be running around in the same suit. The suit that you pick eventually will be leaning into the playstyle that you want. If you want bigger pockets to carry more resources, or you just want to divert all of your suit's energy into your weapons, that's some cool ideas that we're playing around with. But we still need to nail the first suit, because I think right now we're still running around in the Intaki suit, and we have been doing that for quite some time, and we really want to move away from that.
You spoke of jack of all trades, which throws us back to that great CCP Collins catchphrase, the game of games.
Yeah.
So as we're tightening things up, how does Vanguard aspire to be game of games? Are we still going down that road?
Yeah, I think it will be less open than I think we've talked about it previously. It's not going to be like a theme park with lots of different rides. There will be one key ride I'm strapping myself to this metaphor.
Strap in.
But no, I think at the center of this, we want the Sandbox has always been the primary mode for us. We're putting a lot of work into that at the moment to kind of tighten that up, add more structure, and remove some of the kind of woolliness that was there, the kind of openness and the lack of structure and lack of tension that existed in that mode. So we're focusing on that at the moment, but having PvE experiences and PvP experiences on the side of that is something we definitely are aiming for. We might not start there as we pull our resources and focus onto that core Sandbox mode at the moment, but having PvE experiences and PvP experiences, and we've got prototypes that we were playing around with last year that we really liked. We had a PvE kind of dungeon raid, which was really cool, and we were playing around with a 3v3 PvP mode that was very similar to like Trials of Osiris in Destiny 2, and that was really cool. And these are things that we will get back to, but I think off the back of Operation Nemesis and a lot of the feedback we got around our core Sandbox mode, a lot of negative feedback about it really, and how it wasn't really creating kind of any spikes in gameplay and lack of tension in places, and it was maybe a bit too unstructured and a bit too open, a bit too sandboxy. We're putting some focus on that at the moment, which we're hoping that that will be the core part of the experience for the alpha playtest in summer.
Lovely, thank you. You mentioned the 3v3 there for PvP. Has there been any further thought as to what PvP sizes will be? Are you happy with 3x3 or?
3v3 is a bit more of just a drop-in, drop-out thing. We've got the 9v9, or I think we've pushed it to 10v10, or we've been able to, because it's also a technical restriction as well in Unreal 5, getting game looking and playing at this frame rate in that engine. The more players you add to that, the more players that need to be replicated on a server, the more problems you get. We can't just press a button and it's 32 versus 32, or everyone's frame rate drops down really bad. So without making massive changes to how we do things. So at the center of PvP will probably still be the TDM or control that right now is at 10v10, but we'll continue to see if we can keep pushing that up. But the 3v3 thing might be like, your introduction into PvP, because it's a lot more squad based, it's a lot tighter. But the central, what we were calling the insurgency mode before, that central TDM, team versus team PvP mode is certainly going to be at the heart of PvP when we get to that.
Lovely. So another phrase that popped out from the director's letter was the relation of combined arms between EVE Online and Vanguard. Is it too early to talk about what that means yet?
No, I think it's the spirit of as above, so below, that we've talked about a lot. The spirit of Vanguard is there is one universe, there is one war, and the war that's being fought in the capital spaceships is also being fought on the ground. And that's what we kind of mean by combined arms. We don't necessarily mean it in the same way that, say, Battlefield uses it, which is like combined arms is people driving around in tanks and flying in planes. We're not looking to do that right now. Is the combined arms in that the battles that are being fought on the ground in Vanguard are contributing a part of the same warfare that's being fought in space. And that's a big part of what we mean by that combined arms spirit, that you're not, you feel tethered to the larger theatre of war that's happening in the universe.
So, having done this for a couple of years now, if you could go back, if you could time travel and go, Great Scott, young Collins, I would do this differently. What would you do differently to take us up to this point?
Oh wow, like it's hard, like a specific feature or something. I think I really enjoyed our approach to pre-alpha, in that we were very experimental. We had a lot of prototypes in the game. I was really surprised by the positive reaction from players being able to just take a prototype. It's something that gets called out all the time when we talk about this game, is that you think that sounds really risky, making something out of paper mache and then giving it to people and going, is this fun? You often expect, gamers, TM, to want the finished, polished article before they give useful feedback on it. But giving something that was clearly untextured, clearly wasn't ready to people, and then getting feedback on it. I think the time we've spent in pre-alpha, though, I would probably shorten it down. Okay. Maybe force ourselves to make more committed decisions earlier on, and get to where we are now much earlier. I think I'd like that, and I think a lot of people would probably have said that they would like that as well, especially from the player's perspective. Being able to get to a polished, more finished version of the game earlier is certainly what people would have wanted. But I don't want to discount how great that period was for us, I think. But from announcing in 2023, I'd love to be in I'd love to be in early access already, and I'm sure a lot of people would like us to be.
If we take this in a different direction, can we go back to Bastions?
Yeah.
Where are we with Bastions?
Yeah, the spirit of the Bastion, especially, and definitely the narrative of the Bastion, and the Vanguard high table that exists in the first Bastion, Avalon, is certainly at the heart of the narrative that we want to tell. Functionally around the Bastion, I think that we're going to take baby steps towards, what we presented at FanFest last year. This idea of lots of bastions all throughout the universe with lots of different planets and stuff like that. I think that's eventually what we want to get to, especially player-owned bastions. That's like the North Star for us, is people being able to create their own communities in the space, and gather people there and do their own missions and even fight against each other. That is like the North Star for us. But I think we're going to be taking baby steps there. A lot of the things that we still want to do is we don't want Vanguard to just feel like it's a multiplayer game with single player progression. A lot of games are doing that at the moment, and I think it works for a lot of people. But for an EVE game, the progression is multiplayer. It's the idea that you're working together as a community, working together as a player base, or fighting against each other as a player base. And the progression markers aren't just for you and you alone. They are felt, across the universe with other players. So had the Bastions idea, and that these hubs that players congregate in, and that there are progression markers that everyone at that hub is working towards, is still a big part of Bastions. It's just, I think, when we roll out, we will still only have the one Bastion, and then we'll be adding more over time as we move forwards. But the narrative of the Bastion and why the Vanguard have sought a safe haven and what their leadership hope to achieve from that position, that has been had a lot of work on it, and it's really exciting to see how that's weaving into part of the EVE Online narrative that's coming forward over the next year as well.
Yeah, very cool. How has the team improved the existing experience for Q3, Q4? What changes are you going to make going into that?
Oh, a huge amount. I think that's the big thing going into Alpha, is taking what we had at Operation Nemesis and seeing some of the things that just weren't quite there yet. We had we've been talking a lot about this internally. Operation Nemesis, we had a large spread of things that were all at about 40-50% done. We want to have a tighter collection of things that are feeling much closer to 100%. So things like gunplay and enemies, and the sandbox itself, and even the maps that you're going down to and how they're designed, and the different points of interest and what kind of challenges they have waiting for you there, and how exploration works and how loot works. Like, all of these things were a little bit undercooked in places in the game. So getting a lot of that really useful feedback off the back of Operation Nemesis that helped validate some of our internal thinkings about how certain things weren't really feeling like they were clicking together, that helped kind of us realise what the next step for those were. So Alpha is going to be, it's going to be the best looking and best playing version of Vanguard.
So talking about the stuff that's come before, the changes that you're making, like, what has the team identified as like a core experience of Vanguard that's going to be built on?
Yeah, I think the sandbox is at the heart of that, and being able to, we hadn't really worked on the sandbox quite a lot last year because we were focusing on, the onboarding and those, the first time user experience, or the FATUI as you'd call it, that those opening levels and the kind of the expedition structure that allows and guides players through that. That was great stuff for us to do, and we really needed it. We needed some structured objectives. We needed onboarding for people who were fresh into the game, but it meant that kind of the mode itself was not really getting iterated on so much. So going back to that and working through that and kind of tightening it up and identifying where that mode was falling short in areas. We got a lot of feedback that the kind of the stakes weren't really there. There wasn't really a huge amount of objective to it. There were you kind of deploying down, and you either had an objective that you were taking on from an expedition or not. But I think adding a bit more structure to the mode, adding a bit more sense of place, that where you go to and why you are going to those places, instead of just kind of wandering around and trying to find loot, you are specifically going to these types of places that are demarcated on the map for you. You're going over there to get the industrial supplies, or you're going to go over there, you're going to go to the military camp because that's probably going to where you're going to find some weapon stuff. And the stuff that you do there and the tension that is created, that is the stuff that we're really honing on, is trying to create something that still feels suspenseful, engaging, and is a bit more structured in terms of identifying the objectives in front of you as to what you could and should be doing.
Wicked.
Yeah.
So obviously a fair few players have been with us right from the start. And one of the questions that keeps getting brought up is, what are we going to do to improve player interaction whilst playing?
Yeah, well, when we added proc chat, that was massive for us. But we're not satisfied. We want to go further in terms of allowing players to collaborate or BM each other in the world space. So maybe not for alpha, but certainly as we work towards early access, is allowing players to potentially emergently squad up on the surface. This is something we still really want to explore. We had an internal prototype even early last year that we didn't really take any further, that allowed players to meet up in the field and join each other's squads. At the time, we couldn't really reconcile because as a squad leader, you've selected a contract, and if two players have two different contracts, what does that mean if they now join a squad? But we're confident that we can move forwards in a way that allows us to add that emergent squadding. Finding someone in the field and going, look, let's just work together, is something that we really want to do and build a system around, rather than them just kind of soft working together. But also knowing that, proc chat isn't the be and all and end all of communication in player to player. Adding something like it is a bit loaded, but an emote wheel. We're obviously not going to add like dabbing or anything. Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe we add dabbing, but no, it's not like Fortnite, like dabbing and flossing or anything like that. But I quite like how it works in Arc Raiders. Like the wheel that says, hey, don't shoot, or hey, I come in peace, and stuff like that. Is a really good way of just communicating to players without having to rely on proc chat to basically communicate your intent to another player, because I think that's the thing that's going to be happening, is two players squaring off and going, right, what is their intent? How do I communicate my intent? So building more systems around that is certainly what we want to do, to improve player-to-player interactions.
Thank you very much. That is a lot of information, which I will enjoy editing.
Hey, nice.
You have another meeting to run to, as do I. A different meeting, a better meeting.
Oh, okay. Oh, sure. It's a competition now. Yeah,
it is. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. If we've missed out on your question, please do drop it in the comments. Do our very best to get back to you, either there or yet another podcast that we might do. Do be following us everywhere on social. I'm pretty sure if it's a social site, that we've got a site for it that you can follow.
MySpace.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
We're back on MySpace.
I'll bring it back. Can you dab?
I can, but I will. Oh, what was that?
There's not a lot of room.
That was like a really slow. I can, but no, I'm
old.
I'm going to keep you in suspense. Can Scott dab? Leave it in the comments.
That is suspenseful. The stakes have never been higher. Until next time, my friends, thank you very much for watching the Uplink podcast. He's waving already. Not a dab, a wave.
No dabs. Not in this video.
All right.